The trees are gross, goes through the nursery, which is actually here.
If anyone needs to speak today, we do have a microphone that you'll need to speak into, whether you come up here to the tables or Miranda has an actual microphone she can bring you. But you must speak into a microphone so people watching at home or at work can hear it okay.
There's a sign-in sheet there, Mike. Yeah, you.
What?
There's a sign-in sheet right there. We're good to go. I don't see anything on the screen. That's fine. Sound but no picture. Okay. All right, everybody, we're going to call this meeting to order. Appreciate everybody coming. Looks like a packed house. Might have 1 or 2 seats left over. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes of September 9th, 2025 board meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion or a public hearing for renewable energy ordinance. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Before we open this public hearing, I'd like to make a public announcement.
Go ahead.
As stated prior to the election and since taking office, I would like the minutes to reflect that I am again disclosing that in 2023, my husband and I did sign a lease with Dusty Fox. This is a potential conflict of interest, specifically a financial interest. I recognize the importance of this ordinance before us, as well as the significance of the broader policy consideration it represents. However, effective today, I will not participate in the discussions regarding the renewable energy ordinance, and I will be abstaining from any official action regarding the renewable energy ordinance. This decision is not made lightly. My decision is made in the interest of maintaining transparency, accountability, fairness, and the integrity of our board proceedings. I want to ensure that the board's decision is grounded solely with the merits of the ordinance. Thanks.
Thank you. You already put the motion? Okay.
Yeah, motion to adjourn,
Motion to open the public hearing.
adjourn to open.
I will second it. Those in favor?
I'm going to abstain.
Yep, you're abstaining, so aye. All right, we have 14 written comments. I'm going to turn them all over to Karen here. I'll just read the names. James Barker would like us to take this to a county vote, not a board decision. I have 3 people in favor of it. Karen Adams, or Sterling Adam, Deb Stevenson, and Riley Waters. And there are 10 opposed. It's Paula Carter, Andy No, Vicki Rudd, Mary Sloan, Scott Sloan, Connie Denny, Dave Orman, Bonnie Horsley, Lonnie Flon, and Shelley White. Is there any other written comments anybody has received? Anything different, Brian?
I received those, so go with that.
I thought they were all sent to all of us, so.
Yes, correct.
All right. Verbal comments, we're gonna start with a presentation. So I will, you guys wanna go over the ordinance again? Is that the plan?
Connect, yeah, or they can kind of just do an overview where we started. Because I don't think it's connected.
It's not connected. No, we have no screen, so.
Okay. Okay. And here's the.
Okay, we don't have a screen today, so Jen and I will just quickly go over the contents of the ordinance. So we began developing this. My name is Sarah Cole, first of all. I'm a senior planner with MSA Professional Services. And in 2024, Wapello County decided that they needed to have a renewable energy ordinance. I know that this has been ongoing for a few years, and we were hired to help develop the ordinance. So we did some research on what the state was proposing, what other counties in Iowa and across the region have had success with, and general standards across the nation that would balance the interests of landowners so that people can do what they want to with their land and also protect people within the vicinity of those who are pursuing the project. There are some specifications in the ordinance to protect nearby land and public land. And besides that, the decommissioning standards are a large portion of the ordinance, while the proposed application for projects has a lot of the standards, which gives staff the option to review those as necessary. So with that, Jenna, do you have any additional information you wanted to share?
Not particularly. I'm Jenna Gillum. I'm an assistant planner at MSA, and I too helped develop the renewable energy ordinance. Aside from just doing research on every single county in Iowa and outside the Midwest, I would say that about 90% have adopted wind, solar, or a combination thereof in an ordinance separate as we propose here or as part of their zoning ordinance. And, there's regulations you can take within this ordinance as we proposed, or if there are certain standards that you would like to see, we're open to feedback and are just here today to, listen in on this discussion. And if you guys have questions about the ordinance, we're happy to answer them.
I think they had copies of the ordinance laid out. Okay. We will go to verbal comments. When you do your verbal comments, state your name. And we'll give you a couple minutes to state any statement you'd like to make. So, does anybody like to make a verbal comment?
Mike McCarty at Tillman. I'm opposed. My opinion is that it will never offset the carbon footprint for what it takes. I mean, on the surface, it seems like a great idea, but it won't. It's already a proven fact it does not, at least in some cases, that it won't offset it. And for me, it would equate to, in my opinion, lower quality of life with all the debris. No one thinks about the fiberglass that it leaves in surrounding areas. So, for the record, I'm opposed.
It's easier to sit here.
You wanna
with
sit
a piece
here
of
and talk?
paper in my hand.
Good morning, Mark Rograder, Tumble Partners in Progress. I just wanted to talk about this and discuss a few areas that I think should be considerations when you're deciding on this ordinance. First of which would be in the area of economic development, is specifically the green energy offset that would be available with having wind energy in Wapello County. We have next to none here, and that is very problematic for us when we're trying to recruit businesses. A lot of the new businesses that are coming in are specifically looking for those green energy offset credits, and right now Wapello County has none to offer. Especially when you're looking at things like data centers that are number one, easy to place, and number two, high energy utilizers. The plan build out that has been presented to us, and it wouldn't really matter whether it was Apex or anybody else. You're looking at several hundred megawatts that have potential under these solar or these wind projects. So with the current talk with Alliant Energy, they don't plan on doing any build outs of electrical capacity until at least 2027, which will continue to leave Wapello County behind the times as far as electrical capacity and generation. As far as job expansion goes, the current project that's being considered right now has 10 full-time equivalents with about $1 million worth of annual payroll, which, as we all know, is something that we could use in Wapello County. Much more in construction availability, which, as everybody knows, when construction workers come in, that adds dollars to our local option sales and service tax. It adds dollars to our hotel motel tax, which helps businesses in the community thrive. And then having Apex here has created opportunities for grants, for scholarships, for community sponsorships, for events and everything. Looking at the financial impact, as late as last year with House File 718, the state of Iowa has continued to cut down the amount of revenue that comes into counties and cities. I believe during April, the Wapello County budget saw a $2 million shortfall. The projections that have been presented here is about $3 million to the county as a whole, about $1.1 million specifically going towards Wapello County. So having a project like this could more than half offset those losses that we're seeing from the state of Iowa right now. According to the Iowa State Association of Counties, in 2023, 59% of the electric generated in Iowa is from wind energy, none of which obviously is in Wapello County again. The tax benefits to the counties are huge. The ones that have wind energy tax credits available to them, they're not seeing the same economic impact from these rollbacks that we in Wapello County are seeing right now. Obviously, there's opportunity for the landowners to diversify their revenue streams. And according to the Iowa Environmental Council, as of last year, wind energy is the cheapest source of electrical generation there is available. And even with Alliant Energy freezing rates with the Iowa Utilities Board last year through 2028, we still remain one of the highest pockets of cost per kilowatt hour of electrical energy in the state of Iowa. And as a reminder to everybody, we're also one of the poorest counties in the state. So the added capacity will definitely offset some of that cost moving forward, especially when in 2029, those rates are released and Alliant Energy is able to increase those rates again. From a legal perspective, I'm not at all a proponent of preemption. I think I've made that in my past abundantly clear, but 99 counties with 99 sets of rules is a little bit excessive. The ordinance that I have seen seems to be a little bit more restrictive than the state of Iowa, which, puts us in a good position. It helps us that way, we don't suffer some ill consequences of having to redo this whole thing later on to make it more in line. And we're not only talking about wind energy. This ordinance, to my understanding, will open us up to solar. It'll open us up to battery generation, which could also be added economic development drivers for Wapello County as well. So it isn't a development agreement that we're talking about here. I think everybody's fully aware of that. It's just the ordinance. So I think that this is a good opportunity for us to at least, come to some agreement that we are pro-development and we do want to move the county forward. And then we can talk about a development agreement at some later point in time. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Got that one?
I got that. Yeah, turn it on there.
You always hear, not in my backyard. Yeah, I've heard that so often, and it always reminded me of.
What's your name?
John Helgerson, I'm sorry. It always reminded me, I went to California in the early 90s, and they had a not in my backyard ordinance that restricted power companies from building power plants in California. They didn't want that, the emissions out there. So they ended up buying electricity from other states. And I don't know if you guys remember at all, but there was this silly little company called Enron involved too. But they had blackouts. So I went there with Disneyland, and the people at Disneyland were so paranoid that they were going to get blackouts. Blackout, not a brownout, a blackout. And then after that, I saw in the news that they were getting brownouts. So you can say, I don't want these in my backyard, but in the same regard, Mark he talked a little bit about Alliant Energy and how much capacity they have, but he didn't answer. Would he answer a question, did we ever lose any industry from coming into Wapello County because Alliant Energy could not provide the energy? And I would venture to say we have lost them. So if you start thinking, well, not in my backyard, but then we're just going to end up paying the price down the road. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
I'm Roger Russ from Wapello County, Highland Center, Section 35. One thing I talk about brownouts and whatever and energy. Number one, the rates in the Tumwater are high because the Iowa Utilities Board allowed Alliant to raise their rates. We used to have one of the cheapest ones in the state when Iowa Southern had it, but they allowed it to raise. They had to equalize our rates. We're not equal anymore, we're higher. Figure that one out. Number one, these wind turbines have an effect on you. Number one, if you're close to them, they are noisy. Somebody says they swish or they hum, but they don't, they swish. Also at night, you get red lights flashing at you. My property happens to be right on the flight line from the helicopters coming in from Iowa City. They go all night long too, but these lights don't stop. They're all the time at night. In the mornings, when the sun's coming up, I'm gonna have flashing lights right in my bedroom window because these blades, when the sun's coming up, are going round and round. They're not efficient. I'll tell you why. Recently, I drove from Indiana to Iowa, 360 miles. There are a lot of windmills along that side. But you know, that day, there was not one windmill turning anywhere in that 300 miles. The wind wasn't blowing. They are not reliable. If you're going to put tax money to something, put it to nuclear. It's clean, it's efficient, and it's sustaining. This is nuts. This is taxpayer money paying for these things, folks. That affects all of you. It's not just my money going to make money, because I'm not. Come on, I want to put up a windmill. I can't. and I wouldn't. Thank you.
Thank you. There was another guy right behind him on.
Dennis Wolfoot, 334 East Fifth Street. And as I mentioned before, I had sent emails in support of this, moving this project forward in January. Carrie, you were not part of that conversation at the time because you were not installed into your position. I know that at that time, it was waiting for this ordinance, and I would remind everyone today that we're here to talk about an ordinance. We're not here to talk about anything else but that ordinance. And I know that in your response to me, Mr. Batterson, you had concerns that I do my research. I want to assure you that I had already done it by the time I wrote you an email. And when I talk about research, I talk about it in an academic sense. This is not a Google search. This is investigating peer-reviewed articles. This is talking to neighbors and taking information and data and compiling it that is objective. And I remain in support of that, of the project, of this ordinance. I think it's important that the county takes a step first before the state decides what we're going to do. I already live with hawk confinement in my neighborhood where my farm is, and I complained about that. I didn't want that built in my backyard. But we don't have a choice, is what I found out at the county supervisors meeting because we were told then by the supervisors that it doesn't matter what we say, the state has decided. So let's take this proactive step in our own future. And I'd also, this in terms of economic development, Mark has gone over all of the information and the pertinent data as to why that this is a positive ordinance and would have a positive effect on our county. I also would urge you to, and specifically, Mr. Batterson, you were concerned about the process, and my question for you today would be, has this process happened now to your satisfaction? Because I know you wanted me to do my research, I did my research, I know about the economic benefits, I understand any drawbacks that if there are that rise to a level of great concern. There are none for me. And I'm wondering if this process has been an answer to any question that you have, because I think that we know that you're the one that is reluctant to support, or that's the impression that we have, that you're reluctant to support this ordinance. And yet the only questions I've ever seen and heard from you are the ones in the email. And it pertained to this ordinance, and that people's voices be heard, and they have been heard, and you've heard my voice many times. And the company reached what they believed to be a balanced ordinance. And so I think that we need to focus on, is the ordinance balanced? And is this good for Wapello County? And part of that is, it is good for those who sign on. As a landowner, I believe that you have the right to be able to utilize your land as you see fit. And I certainly understand the greater good, and that's why I think an ordinance is appropriate to protect the greater good, but you also need to protect the independence of landowners and what that means in our country and in a capitalistic society. Because what we're saying no to is, we say, if we don't pass this ordinance and don't allow this development, is we're saying no to capitalism. But have your questions, Mr. Batterson, been answered through this process, or do you have more questions that you haven't received answers from Apex, you haven't received answers from your constituents? Because having been to most of these meetings, I know that the vast majority of Wapello County doesn't have an opinion one way or the other.
Me personally, we're gonna have an ordinance, but I don't feel this ordinance protects the county enough. Doesn't protect the participants, the non-participants enough.
And how does it not protect the county? Because I'm a participant and I'm fully capable of making my own decisions for my land, for the future, for my children. And I don't need your help on deciding what to do with my land. I do believe there is a greater good, as I said. So if you have concerns, then I think you need to make those public so that those can be addressed. And I would counter that I think that your concerns have been answered in the ordinance, because this is a society that works on compromise. These setbacks wouldn't be as great if it were only up to me, but it's not. It's the wonderful thing about how we work is it's up to all of us. So compromise is not just your opinion. Compromise is our listening to these public hearings. And I believe that this ordinance is the best compromise that we've seen and that it is observable throughout, when you look at other states and they have taken control of what those setbacks and all those ordinances are. We keep our independence and we determine what's good for us. And I believe that there is a compromise. So I will let you continue. I apologize, but I want to have a conversation.
We can have a conversation anytime, but like I said, I'm not satisfied with what's in the ordinance. I've had comments or commentary with them several times. There's not enough setback for the non-participants. This ordinance does not distinguish between participants and non-participants. It doesn't highlight a lot of the features that are unique to Wapello County, which is why all 99 counties are opposed to the state trying to do anything.
And so,
because every county is its own. We have our own unique features. We have our own power lines. We have our own highways. We have rivers. We have churches. We have different cities, different sizes, different communities.
Right, and so about the ordinance, how in the ordinance.
The ordinance doesn't cover those things that are unique to Wapello County to protect them.
Because what does it matter if you're a participant or a non-participant? Because you should be focused on all of the citizens. I was a supporter of yours during the election. I thought you were for economic development. I thought you were for capitalism and moving this county forward. And I can see that there's a real reluctance to be a leader and to be out front. And so I want to understand if there are changes that need to be made, what those are, and whether they will affect the development agreement later. And what we have now is a working agreement that answers the concerns of those who just don't want rampant development and windmills put up any place. It answers that concern, and it also answers the landowners who do want this to happen, who need to look at their limited land and how is that going to survive to the next generation. And diversifying income streams is one of the ways to do that. So what about compromise, and how does this ordinance not compromise with all of the concerns that you've expressed? How are we not meeting in the middle here?
Well, I've never interrupted you.
I thank you, and I'm a talker.
I know you're talking, known you a long time. But as I was stating, I have lots of issues, and they know that we've talked about them.
But I will interrupt again.
Okay.
It's just
then
when
we're done.
No, but when people
We're
use
done,
terms
you
like.
won't let me have a say.
I will,
so.
but I need to have specificity. Lots of issues is a very
and I've
broad.
been bringing up the issues.
Okay,
and you
keep going. I apologize again, but that kind of
I'll
language is not specific.
I'll make a statement at the end, so.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak?
Thank you.
Nope, we are working.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Ed Miller, land owner operator, and live on my farm in Center Township, southwest of Ottumwa. First of all, Supervisor Tenenti, commend you for taking your stand this morning, because that was one of the things on my list is whether you, and that's one of the reasons I voted for you, because of transparency. And so
Thank you.
Congratulations on that. First of all, I'm not here to speak about pros and cons of wind energy. I see both sides. I would dispute the comment earlier from the Iowa Environmental Council that wind energy is the cheapest energy on the grid, because they have a vested interest in it. And I think that if you look at some other organizations' data, that is not necessarily true. I know that at some time, Alliant Energy, the highest priced energy they have on the grid is the green energy. So that's all I have to say about the project. I'm not necessarily opposed to wind farms in this project. I am opposed to some of the tenets of this ordinance. And I thought that's what we were here to speak about today, not wind energy in general. I'm a little concerned about the timeline. And for many of us in my community, it seems like this is a bit rushed, and the communication about these meetings wasn't very good. I realize we're in the era of the internet and Facebook. I'm 72 years old. I'm not on Facebook. I didn't even know about these meetings until I went to another community meeting a week ago, and people were talking about it. So, but it just seems like I know you've been working on this a long time, but it just seems like we're trying to rush this thing into existence. So I just think the timeline of communication is a little bit rushed there, and the time of these meetings, right around the start of the school year and the start of harvest. I mean, you're not going to get a farmer out of his combine to come here. It rained. He might have been here today, but so I'm concerned about economic development and the right of farmers to do what they want with their land to get some more income. I know what the price of corn at Eddyville is today, and I know how much per acre I'm going to lose this fall, but I'm not sure that a wind farm is my answer. The concerns I have revolve specifically about setbacks. I don't have a PowerPoint or anything, and I don't have all the ordinance here, but it just seems like some of the setbacks don't protect some of the adjoining landowners. We've all seen we were told for years that these things are tornado proof. Well, we figured out a year ago or whenever it was in Western Iowa, they're not, and how big the debris field was. And it wasn't the responsibility of the county, but a lot of those companies didn't do a very good job of cleaning up all the fiberglass and stuff. So I'm concerned about setbacks for adjoining landowners. I'm more concerned about setbacks for some of our small towns, churches. I don't think we need a ring of cell tower or wind farm around Cardinal School or the city of Agency. And it just seems like we don't have, I think you called them special setbacks, Supervisor Batterson. I just think we don't address some of those things very well in here. And then I thought it was pretty egregious that we didn't do a very good job addressing, lost that maybe. The battery generation, battery storage. I didn't think that was fully developed in this version of the ordinance, and I think a lot more time needs to get involved in that, and the setbacks. And then the dismantling of these projects. I know there's language about all of those things, but I think the language is not specific enough, and the time or the space is not what we need to be looking at. So I guess I would commend you, Supervisor Batterson, for taking that stance. We're not opposed to the project. We need to do a better job of writing this ordinance for Wapello County. So thank you very much.
Any other verbal comments?
Dave Weber, I live in Ottumwa, I have a farm in Comptine Township. I've signed up for it. Windmills are being planned for the lower density population areas. In other words, it was northeast Wapello County originally. The terrain is more favorable. It's a lot easier to get fewer landowner agreements. They're not going to put one here in Ottumwa, don't worry. Farmers are struggling. Our federal horn of Pundy is not being turned on. Land values are not going to continue on their same path upward. It'll be a different rate of movement. In Vietnam this week.
Off again.
It's off again. You give me a bad mic.
I think the battery died. Sorry about that.
I don't think the cord's long enough. I don't know.
Thank you. In Vietnam this week, 86 million bank accounts were closed. John Deere, 2 weeks ago, 16 round balers a day being produced. This financial picture can change drastically. Our county expenses are not going down. Property taxes are the obvious revenue source. Wapello County is next to Appanoose County in the poverty rate in the state of Iowa. What did we do with Cargill? We didn't help get them into this county. Pioneer, a mile away. We got Bridgeview and the beach in Ottumwa. They're not revenue producing. Anytime an organization can, to be successful, if you can increase your revenue streams and hold your expenses, it'll work. We've got this opportunity thrown in our face, and we need to take it. We can't let it go. You take advantage always when the opportunity is present. That's it.
Thank you, Dave. I think right up here behind you.
Hello, my name is Justin Smith. I am a project developer for Diversia Infrastructure, and while I cannot really speak on behalf of the wind farms, we do have site control on 2 areas right outside of Eddyville that we plan on building a solar farm on should the ordinance pass. I had some comments as well as a couple of questions. First of all, the comments, we are held by a very stringent environmental standard, both with the state, the county, and ultimately the federal government, as far as decommissioning and cleaning up these sites whenever they're out of commission. So there's that. Also, to speak to the income potential we have here. So we do a lot of research on these things. Obviously, it's part of our pitch. I mean, as you would imagine. But we've been monitoring 2 different projects that are stretched out over 3 different counties. This is just solar, not wind. In Worth County, Howard County, and Mitchell counties, we have 2 projects. One of them straddles the line of 2 counties. But combined in their lifetime, their 35-year lifetime project, they are scheduled to bring in $77.5 million to those counties. Now that is you're thinking $77.5 million with no increase, tax burden to the public. I mean, this is money that goes to infrastructure, emergency services, schools, what have you. So, I mean, we definitely can objectively see that is a good source of additional income to any community. My question that I have is regarding the ordinances. I'm going to start with the setbacks. While I definitely can see the reason for some of the setbacks we have for the windmills, we feel that maybe some of the setbacks if there could be some variances allowed for solar farms, seeing as that you don't have a giant monolithic structure that could fall over and wreak havoc. On a case-by-case scenario, we would like to maybe pitch the idea of, if the local landowners that are not involved in the project are willing to give written consent, could we maybe lessen the setbacks when it comes to unaffected properties or properties that are not in the project? Just because that 120-foot setback can be pretty detrimental to the viability of a project in certain areas, especially when you're already having to account for setbacks for roads, wetlands, and things like that, which obviously we should. But, in our mind, we think, okay, so if, our landowner that has the project on his property, if he is in a good relationship with his neighbor and the neighbor is willing to consent to maybe having infrastructure within 70 to 50 feet of his property line versus 120, we feel like that might be there's a valuable argument for that case there. And I just wanted to see if that's something that the zoning board would be willing to consider.
Anybody else?
Riley Waters. I'm a building tradesman. I'm an electrician by trade. I think no matter what the project is, we need to have an emphasis on using local labor. That doesn't mean a local contractor per se, because you give it to a local contractor and they use out-of-state labor. There's a big push on the building trades right now, and a lot of our members are having to go to other states to provide for their families. What better way to make sure that money stays within the community by using local building tradesmen and women? That's all I got.
Thanks, Ron.
Anybody else?
Matty Rowe with Apex, representing Dusty Fox Wind. Just wanted to make a couple of statements here towards the end. Regarding the lighting, just wanted to specify that ADLS is required in the current ordinance. That's aircraft detection lighting system. It's basically a radar setup that detects when flights are coming in, turns on the FAA required blinking lights at that point, and then when the plane has safely left the area, they turn off. It's known to reduce the amount of light blinking up to 98%. So that is required in the ordinance. Also just wanted to mention that decommissioning and road use plans are also required in this ordinance and required to be funded by any developer, which I think is a good part of it. As we look at the setbacks in this ordinance, I was in the planning and zoning hearings and meetings. I know the ordinance was based off the state model. The setbacks in this ordinance are more restrictive, up to 36% more restrictive than what the state had in their draft ordinance for property lines and roads and whatnot. There is a point which setbacks become unbuildable. So that is the danger for us. This was originally a 3-county project. It's now a 1-county project. And we'd like to keep it 1 county at a minimum. So we're hoping whatever comes out of this, it's something that we're able to build a successful project here. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Ken Saboski. I have land in Keokuk and I have a farm in Wapello. And I've lost the opportunity to do anything in Keokuk County. And I would have liked to take advantage of that. So I have an advantage here with Wapello. And I would certainly like Wapello to be known as a growing, progressive, I know I shouldn't use that word, but a county that is looking forward and wants to grow. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Ken.
Anybody else have comments?
Nothing else? All right. And one of the other things I was going to tell you is a couple of things in the ordinance that I don't feel are covered is there's no quantity limit. Almost all the counties have a quantity limit, even Franklin County, where one of the gentlemen's from, he knows they have a quantity limit. The size limit and setbacks, they have a times the height setback in this ordinance, but that's not enough because it's based off of a 700-foot windmill. What if the company doesn't build 700-foot windmills? What if they only build 350-foot? 2 times 350, 770 feet. That's a little close to be to somebody's house. So if you have to have a times, and then most of these counties put in another sentence or a certain number of feet, whichever is greater. That way it covers regardless of the height. There's no minimum distance for the blade to be to the ground. The most common I've seen in all the ordinances I read was 50 feet to 75 feet. The blade couldn't come within the ground. That's not covered in there. And I'm sure he did his research. When you read all these other county ordinances, which I would encourage people to do, some of them were terrible. Some of them are very good. Some of them are extremely restrictive. Some of them have almost no restrictions. We need to find that middle ground that we was talking about, but I don't think we found the middle ground to protect, in my opinion, everybody that's involved and not involved. One of the big things is insurance. There's no requirement for the insurance. They say they have good insurance, but what does their insurance cover and how far does it cover? Blade falls on the highway, falls on a road, kills a passerby, who's liable? A lot of the things that happen to wind turbines are natural. A tornado, can't control what a tornado does. But there's fire. The company actually provides fire suppression systems for these. That's not in the ordinance to be required because it costs them, but it can be put in there. So there's lots of things I've discovered in reading these other county ordinances that I never thought of. I never would dreamed of it, but they've obviously had an issue, and that's why they put them in there. A lot of counties have changed their ordinances after allowing. They've restricted it more and not allowed them. We have a neighboring county north of us, Mahaska County. Go up there and talk to some of the people that have them. Talk to the neighbors. Talk to the people that have moved away because they didn't think it would be bad, but now it's not. And I agree with you on the hog farms. And I know a lot of people complain about, well, if they want one, they should live with it. So there's lots of issues that I don't think we've addressed. And Farm Bureau, is Farm Bureau. They're not going to get involved because they believe the farmer has a right to do what they want to do on our property. But at the same time, they also want to protect A1 farm ground. Once we give away A1 farm ground, build on it, tear it up, it's no longer A1 farm ground. Anybody's ever built a terrace knows once you build a terrace, it does not grow the same. The soil's never going to be the same. Tearing up field tile. There's been horror stories with going through and tearing up field tiles. Anybody that farms knows you may not have a field tile issue for years. You have to have the right amount of rain to see that you got a problem. And unfortunately, we ain't been in a lot of that rain issue for a while. So there's little things in there that I just don't feel we've protected the people. Water wells. I can take you to a dozen different farms that use ponds and water wells to water their cows. What assurance do we have those aren't going to be contaminated? The depth of tear down, 4 feet down, which is the frost line, is that far enough to go below the soil? I don't feel it is, because you can't get down to the water table. So we definitely got some things to discuss and work on, I feel, so to make it better for everybody. And those, not just my opinion, but there's papers up here with the same thing. People are quoting the same things, and these are things I took out of the other ordinances where they've adopted because of the people wanted them. And to answer your question, I'm not against wind turbines. I'm against a lot of the procedures they're using to get them here. Following a farmer around his cornfield, chasing him in his combine while he's picking corn, trying to talk to him is a little annoying, I would think. When he's already said no a dozen times. I just got that call last week. He says, they're following me around my field. They don't take no for an answer. So farmers shouldn't have to be harassed about signing their ground up. You voluntarily sign up, great. If you don't want to sign up, that's great too. It's your ground. But we just need to find that happy medium. I don't know if there is such a thing as a happy medium, but we need to get as close as we can to support both. That's my opinion on it. Brian, do you have anything?
Yes, I'd like to address a couple things. And thank you, Darren, for sharing your thoughts. And thank you, Carrie, for sharing your thoughts. Just a couple things.
when I ran for this position, I ran as a Republican. I think everybody knows that by now. There's actually two of the three things on the Republican platform are individual land rights and fiscal responsibility. And I feel that both of those are at stake here. I'm in favor of individual land rights and fiscal responsibility. And what that means for us when it comes to taxes, and I said this the other night at our public hearing, we're facing a financial crisis in the county. It's not terrible, but it's before us. And if we don't have other income streams coming into the county, we are going to have to do something on the tax side of it. And I almost look at it this way: if we don't do something, we're probably going to be facing the 30% increase in taxes at some point. And that's an arbitrary number, so don't say that that's exact. But what do? You can't continue on like we are. And one of our problems is the law enforcement center. Our jail population is maxed out, and we have to contract out inmates to other counties, and that's costing us like a little over $1 million a year, and that cannot go on forever. We can live with it short term, but we've got to do something about that. So I'm looking at any kind of opportunity that we can expand our revenue. And I would say this to a couple comments to Darren. Darren, we've been doing this for 2.5 years. I have heard today some of your concerns that I didn't really know about until today. I guess I would have liked to have heard more of this early on. And I know some of this is hard to know in advance. So I give you that you can't anticipate everything until we get to some point in the process. So I understand. And I'd like to challenge Carrie Kennedy on her position. And I so appreciate Carrie from the standpoint of transparency and some of the things that she's said. But let me go back to Iowa Code. And if you haven't spent any time on Iowa Code, which who does, right? It does have some specific things in regards to this whole process and in terms of conflict of interest. Let me just read one statement from it. This is Iowa Code 68B.2a, and it makes this statement. I gotta get to the right place here. To give the person or member of the person's immediate family an advantage or financial benefit that is not available to other similar situated members or classes of members of the general public. In my opinion, Carrie does not have that. She does not have an isolated interest that is not available to the other landowners in the county. And so I question that idea of conflict of interest. In fact, when you get to the point of democracy, we all, if you're in any kind of county or city government, you have the risk of being attacked on conflict of interest all the time. And, an example of that is I could vote, we're on the landfill commission. I could vote to lower the landfill tipping rates so it's cheaper for me to take stuff to the landfill. Well, I don't do that. I act responsibly in my role as an elected official of the citizens of the county. I don't act in self-interest. I act in the interest of all of us together. And I really appreciate public hearings. At first, I didn't think, anybody in elected offices listened to public hearings. I've learned in 2.5 years that public hearings do make a difference. I appreciate your comments. And I'd like to kind of have us end this with the idea that we are committed to work together and to improve the conditions in our county together.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Can I make a comment?
Before we close? Yep. One more comment up here.
So, I spoke at.
I'm Scott Sloan. I live west of Ottumwa, near Blakesburg. First off, I'm not really in favor of the wind turbines, but I have heard both sides and I understand the economic side of this. What I'm concerned with at this point is listening to both of you guys. I know you guys are all trying to do the right thing. How do we move forward? And I think, Dennis, to your point, how do we move forward and make these changes or make improvements to this ordinance so we can get it passed, so projects can move forward or not, but we can protect the landowners? How do we, what's the procedure to move forward on an ongoing basis so we can get someplace?
We're gonna have to have some open work sessions and work through it. Just go through it page by page and see what we can come up with. And those will be open to the public, so.
You have something to say? Okay, all right. Yeah, one more thing I'd like to add, or just a question. It seems to be, to me, just from being in 2 of these meetings now, that a lot of the points of contention here really seem to revolve way more around wind than they do solar. Is there some sort of option for, I don't know, moving forward? I mean, maybe treating solar a little bit different from wind. I mean, there's, it seems sort of like, yeah, I mean, they're all, both renewable things and you want to have one renewable energy ordinance, but it would sure, I think, this is just for me speaking on behalf of diversity. It would be super helpful if we could get some definite answers for the issues that revolve around solar versus being lumped in with wind, because like I said, there seems to be a lot more discussion and concern about wind than solar, and I think that maybe the issues that maybe need to be worked through around solar could be worked through a lot faster, and we could get some definite answers and a plan forward a lot quicker. So that's just something I'm throwing out there.
Okay, I'm Chloe, for those of you that don't know. I live out by Eldon, and to go off of what he said, I think that would be a great idea. Obviously, I don't know how it works on your guys' end, but I think that would be great to split it up specifically so that people out in Eddyville area where they plan on doing that aren't getting thrown under the bus with the other projects that we're waiting on. If a new ordinance is drawn up or redoing this one, whatever it is, roughly how long will that take? And will the county attorney be doing that, or will you guys be hiring out again for that to be done?
The county attorney won't be doing it. It's also part of the same project for the comp plan, so that's all figured in. We know there's gonna have to be any changes made when we hired on to begin with, so.
Okay.
And separating solar, since it's a green energy ordinance, it'll still go into the same file, because battery storage is the same thing. Nobody's even brought up battery storage because it's fairly new, and there's gonna be more stuff come up. We're not scientists. I can barely tie my own shoes, but somebody's gonna think of something that we haven't, and for energy, and then we'll have to incorporate that also, so.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a question, Jane? Yeah. Or comment?
My name's Jane Berg, and I own 3 farms in Wapello County. The solar question, one of my farms is across from the power plant. Where is this solar idea gonna happen? By Eddyville. Do you have a location?
Yeah, so it's gonna be just, I'm not gonna divulge the landowner's information, but I would say it's almost immediately south and southwest of the Alliant plant on the south side of Power Plant Road.
Okay, and I'll just say that I'm totally against the wind and the solar. I just can't, I understand the financial part of it. I guess I don't understand how it helps Wapello County so much as it does the landowners that sign up for it. And then I also had heard the electric that's generated, someone that was at one of your other meetings said that electricity would go to Illinois. I hadn't heard that here. Is that true? And then also, like, it doesn't stay here, so how are we helped? And then also, is there a plan on where they would be built? I live in the northeast part of the county. And some people seem to know where they're gonna be, but I hadn't heard that.
All the property leased for turbines basically from 63 and 34 in that northeast corner, so.
So is that close to Dahlonega?
Delaware would be on, on that side of the highway, so I don't know exactly, but that's basically where they're at, in between those two highways, so.
Okay, and I have horses, but I absolutely don't want these windmills close to the horses, and we like to ride. And I also like to walk that whole area. I walk every day, and I guess I'm just really appreciative of Mr. Batterson for he wanting to make the ordinance fair to everyone.
Sorry.
Okay, we have 170 acres. It's in Compantine Township. What we get for 170 acres is the equivalent of one more month of Social Security payment. That's it. We will probably won't, we're in our 80s. So I'm thinking more, some of the money will go to Pekin School. That's where our kids graduated. That's a concern because I'm a retired teacher. I taught in Fairfield, but my kids went to Pekin. And so we are concerned with more the future because we're not going to be around that much longer.
Do you have a comment? Thank you.
A question for Darren. I'm Dwayne Bass. I live out on the Bluegrass Road. We have cattle, hay, and I hear a lot of good concerns being discussed today and so forth. My question for Darren, what is the process to the next step now that you're getting all this input and so forth? Do you have an idea of how you're going to proceed eventually to get an ordinance that will fit Wapello County?
We're gonna have to have an open work session to take all these concerns in and work additions, subtractions, whatever we need to do with MSA and the ordinance, so.
Any idea of time frame? We talking about weeks,
As soon as
months?
possible.
As soon as possible. Okay.
See if we can, unfortunately, we have tons of meetings we gotta work around, so.
Just a point of clarification. I was unavailable to be initially when this project started, but haven't you had work sessions on the, I mean, isn't that what led up to what we're seeing presented?
That's a committee that sat with them, and that's what they did, separate of us.
That isn't.
So we were not involved in that, no, we had no.
But wasn't that involved the public? Yes? No?
I think they had one, but when they have their meetings,
well, wait,
nobody can interject in their meetings.
That's fine, but there's a public meeting. I mean, it seems to me like we've had opportunity, and it is our responsibility as citizens to frankly read the Ottumwa Courier, regardless of what you think about it, because that's the point of official notice. It's not Facebook. It is the Ottumwa Courier. It is available to everyone. There have been opportunities for public input. We've been able to talk to our Planning and Zoning Commission members who are, closer to it than many are because they're our neighbors. They're right there. We've had that conversation. It seems to me we've had a process, and we need to be focused on the ordinance. I'm not opposed to variances and things that still can come, but I want to be careful that we're not recreating and redoing a process that's already been done, because obviously that's going to cost us money.
To answer your questions, there were joint workshops between the commission and the board in both April and June.
So the board was there, joint workshops?
Yes.
The Planning and Zoning Board, not us.
Okay, but it's public.
So the first one in April was between the commission and the board.
Right, when we had done nothing, that was just the preliminary, so.
Right, and the board stepped back and asked the commission to draft the ordinance with us, and then we continued down that road. And that's when we met in June and continued to draft the ordinance and revise them with the recommendation happening in July.
Any other comments? I already made a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Seconded.
I abstain.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next on the agenda is personnel. Request for payroll approval, change of employment in the Sheriff's Department.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Request for payroll approval, new hire, secondary roads.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Request for payroll approval, new hire, secondary roads.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second, but I also would like Brad to make some comments about this list, if he could, at some point, so.
I'll just do the third one, then he can.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Request for payroll approval, new hire, secondary roads.
Make a motion to approve.
And I second.
And just for everyone's FYI, you'll have one more because we had 4 retirements, in case everybody's wondering, so. Brad?
Brad can.
As far as comments go, we went through an interview process, interviewed 6 individuals. 3 seem to fit our current needs the best. There's, we did have about 2 dozen applications, so we were very, very happy with the interest. So I'm hopeful that we'll have continued interest for one more opening that's recently come up. 3 positions that we hired for were maintainer operator, utility man, and operator for mower tractor. Would seem to be a best fit with the 3 people we had on the individual pieces of equipment. So that's where we're going to start with the new hires.
Thank you.
Request for payroll, new hire, treasurer's office.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Potential cancellation fee for network services. Andy, anything you want to add to that?
No, nothing.
Okay, we're just changing some services here at the courthouse. Motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Replacement of network equipment. Anything you want to add to that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the process of taking the position, I've noticed that there's a lot of antiquated equipment in the county, and a lot of it does need replaced. Some of it's as much as 8 or 9 years old, and the efficiency and effectiveness has really declined. Currently experiencing some failures in the courthouse itself. Pulled some equipment that have been in other places that have been decommissioned and kind of band-aiding things together. As part of the process for improving the network and infrastructure, pretty good expense for some of the equipment that's necessary. And so I sought 3 quotes from different vendors that I have access to for some specific equipment. We had 3 come back, and the one was just a bit lower, and nicely that it was local, so we get to work with a local provider for that.
Thank you, Andy.
And so which one are you recommending? And
For the provider?
yes,
The vendor, the Winger contracting. Yeah.
thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve Winger.
And I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have 2 liquor licenses for Bogey Barrel, which is, they're doing 2 different events, 2 different times.
Which is it, 3?
The 3?
Yeah, 3 dates.
Yeah, yep,
3
there's
5-day
3.
license.
Yep. April 21st, November 3rd, and August 21st.
I think we can do them all
Yep.
together,
all
so
together.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Set date for first reading of renewable energy ordinance. Brian, you put this on, so.
Yes, and I put this on just to anticipate if we had an opportunity. I guess at this point, it probably does not matter what we do with this. It looks like we're headed a little different direction than to schedule a vote at this
Do you have a
point.
date for a public meeting?
Well, this was not so much a public meeting.
Right, but I mean, for us to sit down.
Yeah, we can sure,
We can do that at the end if you think of a
yeah,
date.
we can sure do that.
So we're motion to table that for now.
Yes, I'll make that motion reluctantly.
I'll second it.
I
Okay.
will abstain.
All those in favor?
Aye. And then what, do you want to establish a date right now? Because
I actually have something, we need to schedule a meeting to discuss, time cards, pay, and time worked. I've received a couple calls from a couple employees. That we need to clarify some issues.
Yeah, the handbook.
Yes.
you want to do a daytime meeting? I'm available next Tuesday, October 30th.
I am too. Want to do it 9 or 10 in the morning?
Let's do 9.
9 a.m. on the 30th.
Right here.
We will have to check, make sure the courtroom is available. But we'll plan on doing it here.
That'll work. And I'll make that a motion, if that's okay.
So what's exactly gonna be on the meeting? A
Well,
work
no.
session for the renewable energy ordinance?
Renewable energy ordinance, yes.
And the topic you mentioned, Carrie.
Okay.
And you got a question here from Brad?
We have a DOT contract, and we also need to have board action on as soon as possible.
Okay.
That'd be okay then, yep. Okay.
What's that? On then? You say for then? The 30th?
Yeah, unless there's an earlier opportunity, yes.
Yeah, that would be the first.
So let's do that.
Okay, so just send the information to Karen, we'll put it on the agenda.
Okay, they've got the paperwork.
All right, and we have a treasurer's investment report. August 2025.
And I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any other business to come before the board?
Quick question.
Yes.
So if we are doing a work session regarding the renewable energy ordinance, we will need to amend our current contract because we will be over on the current contract that we have with MSA. Just that we are going to be over our current contract.
How much have we spent on that contract?
I think with Sarah, we talked yesterday, I think we're over 36,000 now. And that's not including the meeting that we had last Wednesday and their trip and expenses for today.
That is including last.
So,
That includes last Wednesday.
oh, that does include, okay.
Yeah, I should, you told
Okay.
me before that, this
Yeah.
was the only one not.
So I guess until we kind of have an idea of maybe what you're looking at for work sessions and readings, so they can prepare a quote. Yes.
Is that just for the renewable energy ordinance that we spent $36,000?
Yes.
That doesn't include the comp plan?
No.
Because the original comp plan was authorized when in October, November of last year?
Correct.
For $60-some thousand.
Correct.
So we spent $36,000 to write an ordinance.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. And I kind of have a breakdown of all three of those because we did just approve for the zoning and subdivision ordinance because that will follow as we're working through the comprehensive plan.
Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make it.
Now, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You will talk to him before I do.
He's gonna be back the second.